Hi there, and welcome to Green Shoe Conversations, episode 17. I'm Stephanie Cochran. I'm the executive director for the Green Shoe Foundation, and we are a mental health nonprofit organization that offers a 5-day intensive outpatient retreat. But more on that. So with me today, I have Stephen Brinkworth. I'll let you wave. And Miss Rebecca Holt. I'll let you wave. They are two of the therapists that are with us. And this, can y'all believe this is our 17th episode that we've been doing? So again, if you haven't tuned in before, the conversations talk about a lot of different things. And throughout all this time, we've gotten some great questions from people on, who exactly is Green Shoe. So we thought we would kind of, take a time out in our local programming, so to say, to kind of answer some of these questions. And we get a lot of questions through our email and through our website and kind of do a frequently asked kind of question thing. But before we begin, so how's everybody doing? You guys good?
Doing good.
All right. So I do appreciate this. I know these aren't going to be like hard questions, but I may have some surprise questions at the end for you. So don't worry that I didn't prep you on. That always kind of makes it a little bit exciting. So I'm going to start out with the first one. And so just kind of popping this up here for you guys. So when we talk about what is a Green Shoe retreat, how would you guys explain that to somebody?
So in the retreat, there's the beginning of it is an education piece. I think one of the big questions I get about the retreat is anybody staying overnight? And that's not the case. So it's Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. Monday's mostly an education day. So we all start the week from the same place. That we've got the same information before we get started and trying to connect our own stories to where we fit in the model. Tuesday through Friday get really into more experiential work, where we do some inner child work, some empty chair work, some somatic experiencing. There's a lot of different pieces that are involved in the week.
So it is a day program, but it's about 40 hours of intensive therapy in that week. What about age requirements?
You've got to be 21 or older to come through. And part of that is one thing that we talk about, and if you've been to a Green Shoe retreat, you know this, but getting in touch with a functional adult. And so just neurologically, the way that the brain develops, we've decided, 21 is really that age that people can start thinking about that functional adult. And we examine what happened in people's lives from 0 to 18. And so we look at that childhood. And so after 21, we start taking a look at that.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little bit of time difference from that, even though it's a couple years, it gives you a little bit of perspective.
Absolutely. And I will say with age, we have people that have come through that are 21. We have people in their 80s that have come through. And so there's really, it's quite a wide range.
Yeah, there's any age works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For this. What type of expectations or if someone's thinking about issues, like how would I know if I fit for a retreat?
So one of the things that we talk about with everybody is that it's important to not be active in any addictive processes. And so that can be with people, places, things that might not just be substances. There may be a food addiction, a sex addiction. When we're engaged in those processes, active in those processes, it can limit some of our own emotional availability. And so it's difficult to tap into some of those pieces and those emotions that we need to tap into for that healing. And so that can limit some of the progress that is able to be made during the week.
Yeah, that's a good point. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Well, I was just going to say, as far as if you're thinking about coming, we look at in childhood anything that was less than nurturing that people experience. One thing I always say to people is, if you're a child and you had caregivers, you experience something less than nurturing. And if you're a caregiver or a parent, you've done something less than nurturing, because we're not perfect.
Right. Right. I always talk to people about, we deal with relational trauma. We use that term. Everything from addiction and recovery, depression, anxiety, or any and all things that get us stuck in life, which, if you think about it, is like 99% of us.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of fit into this. So that's what I love about this when we just address the question of who's appropriate or who can come. Any of us, really can
Absolutely.
benefit from this week. All right, Rebecca, you got a question for us?
I do. Where are you located, and are there places to stay close by?
That's a big one that we get. So we are located in Edmond, Oklahoma, which is just north of Oklahoma City. In fact, we're kind of on the south end, so right next to several highways, easy access to get to us. And yes, we have quite a few participants that come in either from out of state. We've had some come from out of country. And there's some great local hotels, places to stay. Of course, Airbnbs are something that a lot of people like as well, that we have those in the area. Once you schedule your retreat, you actually get an email from us, kind of a confirmation email. And in that, we've got some of that information, suggestions on places to stay. So next.
So next question, and this is something we've been talking about for a while, is what are the COVID precautions you are taking?
Yeah, that's a big question that we're getting. On kind of the administrative level, we obviously are screening people before they come in, talking to them about what our precautions are. We do daily health screens as far as taking temperature, checking, for symptoms, and really that's just a query just to ask them. But we're also requiring masks to be worn while we're inside the building. On the therapeutic end, Rebecca, kind of what is going on, during the week as far as those COVID precautions?
Yeah. I mean, the mask, I don't think anyone wants to wear a mask, but they enable us to do our groups, which we're so excited about. When we first started, we were worried because when you have something over this part of your face, it's hard to see emotions. But we've been doing groups for 2 months now? We've been back. Yeah, 3. Oh my goodness, 3 months now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, coming up on October.
I know. Almost 3 months now, which has been awesome that we've been able to do that.
Yeah, so we've been doing groups for 3 months, and I'm missing those faces, but it doesn't seem to be getting in the way of doing the work. And as a therapist and as a participant, we're forming an alliance that if I'm not seeing something on your face, you tell me, or I might ask more questions about that. The other thing therapeutically that we had to think about when we were starting these groups again is, what if someone comes up with symptoms? Mm-hmm. And, each situation is unique, but we have a plan of how to continue that group or how to reschedule that group or what to do so that we don't just send people home.
Right. And that's a good point. So no matter where we are in the week, know that we have protocols and plans set up to be able to, to work with that. The other thing is we are limiting participants. We're only operating one group a week with 5 participants. So we're able to space out and have some distance, yet still feel that connection, with folks, in the group. And so, we're able to do that. And again, have been successfully able to continue and operating with the group. So that's been great.
And we're sanitizing every night.
Yes, and yes, several times throughout the day. But the building does get sanitized each evening, as well as there's tons of hand sanitizer and all the great stuff around the building.
All right. Are we ready for the next question?
Yes, I think it's yours, isn't it?
Yep. So when are the retreats offered? What are the dates? And what are the steps to get into one of those retreats?
And that kind of leads into actually what we just talked about. I know with dates, we offer a group every week unless it's a holiday, like for example, Thanksgiving, or, at Christmas. So, that we are booking all the way through this year and into next year, for those weeks. But Steve, what are the next steps if someone's interested?
So if somebody's interested, there are a couple ways they can make contact. One by phone, or 405-697-2109. and give us a call. Even if it's after hours, you can leave a message. That's going to go to Stephanie's email. She's going to get that, and we'll get back in touch with you and get you scheduled for a phone assessment. Those are typically 40 minutes to about an hour, depending on what all we need to go over during that time. You can also get on our website and contact us through our website too. So both of those are easy ways to get in touch and get that process started so you can come through a retreat.
And with the website, you can fill out a full registration form, which gives us your information saying that you want to, take the next steps. Or if you just have another question you want to ask through email, you're able to do that as well. And then once they turn in the registration form, Steve, talk a minute about the phone assessment, because everybody who comes through has to complete a phone assessment with one of you guys.
Mm-hmm. So in the phone assessment, there's some basic demographic information that we'll get and kind of get a snapshot of where you're at with current things. Was some historical information about the family that you grew up in, and kind of explain the model as we're in that phone assessment, and kind of get the future participants' input about what would you like to accomplish out of your time at Green Shoe? What is it that you're wanting to work on to heal? And so that phone assessment is really just a dialogue about what's going on. Where do you want to go from here?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next question is one we actually get asked quite a bit. And that is, can I come with a friend or a family member? Can we attend together?
Unfortunately, no. We don't want anyone in the groups to know each other. Part of that is for confidentiality. Part of that is because the therapeutic process is learning how to form safe relationships. And so entering that process with strangers, for other people you don't know, you really get to form a safe, healthy relationship and get to experience that.
Mm-hmm. We have had family members come through, just not at the same week. So one thing I know we've talked about, as people come through who know someone who's going to come through, don't tell them all the details. Let them have their own experience. So even if you have your family members come, have that discussion about your week after everybody's gone through.
Mm-hmm.
That way you get to have your own unique experience and have that focus on yourself when you're doing your work.
Right. And I would say some of our biggest cheerleaders out there right now, kind of spreading the word about Green Shoe, are our former participants who are telling friends and family members. So I understand the feeling of wanting someone there, but the reality is we want you to be able to focus on yourself and not worry about taking care of somebody else, because that is not your job that week.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question.
So what are some reading resources you recommend? And in addition to the reading materials, where do you get the stuffed animals?
And we get that question a lot, and I just happen to have one here.
Aww.
He just happened to be there, so one of our jelly cats. But the reading materials, people ask us a lot about books and resources that are good to start with.
One of the ones that I know we bring up often is Facing Codependence by Pia Melody. And that really kind of talks about the history of the model, what codependency looks like, and where do we go from here. Beyond that, there's some individual book recommendations that we make during the week too, because we've got a library that's out in front of our entryway that a lot of people gravitate towards and want to check out some materials that they can keep that learning going. Facing Codependence is one of the primary ones that I know that I recommend to people to read.
Yeah, another one, and I've been doing some training recently with body work and somatic experiencing, and The Body Keeps a Score is one that I recommend to almost everyone, by Bessel van der Kolk. And he talks about how trauma impacts our body physically, and how we move that out, because we do a lot of that work during our weeks, is working to move out trauma out of our body.
Yeah. And I was just telling Steve, I saw something today that showed that The Body Keeps a Score has now been on the New York bestseller list for 100 weeks, which is awesome. That's also, it's important that that's out there. All of the books that are on our library shelf are also on our website. And what it does, you can click on it and it just takes you to the Amazon link. So it makes it super easy. If you're not sure, or you were like, what was that book that Steve just said? You can go there and find it, and it'll take you to the Amazon link to be able to order it. Same with the Jellycats, by the way, though. I know for the most part, we get ours from Amazon. Jellycat has a website too. But there's kind of a reason, for the Jellycats. These little guys are kind of weighted, and so I love the fact that I feel like I'm holding, a little friend. So they're great to use with that. All right. I think I have the next question. Oh, yes. Okay. So when I finish or complete a week, is there an aftercare plan, or what comes next after I'm done?
So a big part of our week in doing the work on Friday, whenever we meet and we close out, we go through that aftercare plan. We help people write down some goals of things they want to do. The other thing that we do, if someone has a therapist, we call their therapist, if that's okay with them, with the release, and let them know how their week went. Because a lot of times I think what happens is after people go through our week, they continue therapy, but they may shift to a different area. They may have had some insight during the week that they have some new goals.
Those are hugely important to continue on with the therapist you're already established with. There may also be some pieces that come up during the week where we may see that it'd be beneficial to get connected with a therapist that does EMDR. And so there may be some suggestions that we make about exploring some other pieces to help in that recovery process. EMDR being one, attending a 12-step group that fits what your needs are, but actively staying involved with that recovery process with professionals to help walk you through that process too. Another piece that I know Rebecca and I have talked about with parts language a ton is to keep checking in with yourself. And that's something we practice during the week. But as we move forward after that week is over, to continue that process with ourselves and really continue to check in and enhance that awareness to be able to show up for us in healthy ways.
Yeah. And know that those aftercare plans are specialized to everybody, their individual needs and what they're working on. And so that makes it really nice that they've got that. Which kind of goes with the next question.
Do you have to have a therapist referral?
No.
No, it's kind of a trick question. The answer is no.
Right.
And if you don't, then we do usually refer. That's kind of what you guys were saying. But we get a lot of people, again, friends and family, go through the program, and they will, kind of see themselves in that. So you don't have to have a therapist referral. But if you need one, we've got tons that we work with in the area.
Yeah, I was going to say too, I think I read that question like a referral to start the process.
Yeah.
Therapist. But one thing I want to say, we have people who have never done therapy in their entire life. We have people that have done a lot of therapy. And so it's certainly not a prerequisite that you've done therapy in order to do this week.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Oh, I think I'm the next one.
You're next.
I love this question.
This is one of my favorites to answer.
How much does it cost?
And I'm like, me, I want to talk about this one. And again, this is one we do get asked a lot. And we have such an amazing founder that we are a fully funded nonprofit. And so as part of the enrollment process, after your phone assessment, there is a deposit that is required to hold your spot. That is a $475 deposit. But, and this is the big old but, when you complete the program at the end of the week on Friday, you'll receive a check for your full deposit back. The phone assessment is free, and the Green Shoe Retreat is free. And again, that is coming from our amazing founder. And this was actually a program for him that is something very similar that he went through. And so he has full belief in the process and in this model. And this is something he wanted to make sure was available to anybody that needed it. So it's so amazing to be able to offer this and have that. I know we all love to, to kind of talk about that.
Stephanie, can I ask you a side question with that one?
Oh, but of course.
So when we're doing phone assessments, sometimes I'll get a response when we'll talk about getting a check back in hand on the Friday that you complete your week. And I've ensured people this is not a test to see
Yes.
through the week.
Yeah.
But thinking about how on Mondays you share some of that information about the numbers of people who've come through, I wonder if you could share some of that.
Mhm.
Absolutely. As of tomorrow, we will have 929 people have completed the program.
That's incredible.
I know. Pretty awesome.
That's
And
awesome.
again, I'm a statistical nerd. 94.3% have completed the week. So, you know, and to be honest, the couple of people, and I mean like one, not even one hand, usually is due to illness. And that is not something that's going to keep your deposit you know, from being refunded. The other thing too is being a nonprofit. We have some amazing donors, individual donors who, because even if it could be past participants, their experience, we do have some sponsorships, you know, for that deposit if that is, you know, going to be an issue. Basically, we do not want the financial burden to be what keeps you from doing the retreat. All right, I think. I have the last question. And again, this is an interesting one that we get asked quite a bit. Are you faith-based?
Rebecca, you and I were talking about this for a while yesterday.
We were. We knew this question was coming up.
Yeah. I just prep y'all.
So we are not a faith-based organization, but in this model, it's important to recognize that we have a higher power. There's going to be a different name that some of us put to that higher power than others, but to recognize that I'm not the God of the universe. I'm not all powerful, all being. And so for me, there's a lot of different ways to tap into that spirituality, to connect with that higher power. And one of the things for me is there's a rhythm in nature that for me really opens that door and connects to a higher power. So all belief systems, spiritualities are welcome, but we're not promoting one or the other. So one of the things Rebecca and I were talking about yesterday, I really enjoy being out at Mitch Park and hearing the wind in the top of those trees. And for me, that's almost like a doorway to connect to that higher power, that through that I connect. So it's not the wind, but that sound, that rhythm is one avenue for me to connect to that higher power. And that's an important part of the model, to have that connection to a higher power.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, y'all don't have any more questions listed that you were able to prepare, but I got one for each of you. So, and leading into next month, and yeah, next Friday is October, which is kind of a special month for all of us. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we're going to really be talking a lot about the work in mental health, the state of mental health and things going on. Some of that's going to be too is, you know, kind of getting to know you guys a little bit more. So we'll kind of tease it just a second. So Steve, what are you reading right now? You're a big reader.
I just put down professional books for a little bit. And so I'm actually just started a Neil Gaiman book called Sandman that I've read in the past, but just kind of revisiting some authors that are for fun right now. I just finished I Don't Want to Talk About It by Terrence Real. Fabulous book, and we'll talk about it.
It is our book of the month for September, yes, and we talked about that.
So Neil Gaiman currently. I wanted some stories, not the intellectual piece, but just some stories. So I'm reading for fun right now.
Okay, well, and that's the best. I know you're a big reader. Okay, so Rebecca, and you have a slide that goes with yours. So, this is Rebecca's German Shepherd, Miss Tanya Tucker, who visited us last week, and she made social media her debut on our Facebook page, which, by the way, is a great way to check us out. But how did you come up with her name?
Oh, that's funny. My husband and I were talking one night. We rescued her, so she kind of came out of nowhere. But even before we got her, we were kind of, he's a country singer-songwriter, and we like 90s country because that's when we were teenagers. And we said, if we get a boy dog, we're going to name it John Michael Montgomery. If we get a girl dog, we're going to name her Tanya Tucker. And we were kind of just joking, and then she came along, and there's Tanya. We were like, it's perfect, it fits. So
It does, it fits her name. She is beautiful, she's sweet, she's so loving, and she came up and visited last week, and so we loved having her. So yeah, I thought that was a good follow-up. Well, guys, thanks for joining me and kind of going through just questions, who we are. Really hoping that helps people give them a good idea, and just more general idea about the retreat and what they need. Again, the biggest thing is if you need us, knowing how to kind of get a hold of us. But before we go, there's something else I just want to make sure I emphasize. And we talked a little bit about, Rebecca and I chatted with Kinsey Lyons last week. We're wrapping up September, and September is Suicide Prevention Month as well as Recovery Month. And there's some great resources, hotlines, things like that. If anybody is needing anything, the biggest thing is National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-TALK. If you did not know, Oklahoma still has a COVID mental health hotline. We are still in a tough time, and people are having a hard time with anxiety and transitions and different things. And so if you need that, at 1-877-215-8336. We are always available. Reach out to us, info@greenshoe.org. Find us on our website. You can ask questions, get a hold of us if you need any help, or again, register for one of the retreats. So thanks for joining us. We will be back next week. And Steve, you are our feature next week. So we'll get to learn more about your reading and other hobbies and things you love to do, and about your work here at Green Shoe, more importantly. So we will talk to y'all next week.